Is the MOTU Origins Powers of Grayskull line becoming more of a reality? We delve into this question as we continue our Hidden in Plain Sight Mattel Creations Camo Khan card art series, part 2. And before we dive into the episode, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you can be alerted to the latest reviews, news, and episodes when they drop. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits. I'm Michael, and with me is my collector in crime, Larry. Now, Camo Khan was revealed back at SDCC 2022 as a Mattel Creations exclusive, and for this episode, we are focusing on part 2 of our card art teaser series, which has the opportunity to expand the line in uncharted territories as this entire scene is set in Preternia.
Yeah, this thing, man. I mean, there was just so much stuff with this card art. I really feel like it's one of the coolest ones we've gotten. I mean, I think it's just got so much stuff packed in there, and seeing all the Powers of Grayskull kind of stuff from Preternia is awesome.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I love the trifold art that they do here because it's kind of like getting a mini comic in trifold because they have the whole backstory on Camo Khan here.
Yeah, it's cool to see all of it. It's fun to have kind of a backstory on the figure, and I like how that they're kind of like interweaving these two kind of groups
Yeah.
together. And I think it's if the idea is to have the Snake Men kind of dominate the next year, kind of like the Horde did in the previous year, and then maybe transition over to Powers of Grayskull after that. And I think it's a cool kind of way to come full circle with what was meant to be for the vintage line.
Definitely, yes. And speaking of that, if we go back to 1986, there were big plans in 88 for reimagining the line with giants and new playsets and figures and creatures. So it was really intended to show that prehistory of Eternia, but unfortunately it was abandoned early and very few products were created or released.
Yeah, tough to see that some of this didn't make it out. That kind of right at the end of the line there. I think they had some kind of cool ideas on different things to do, and maybe a little bit different direction for the line, but just never made it all the way out to the public. So
Yeah, it's encouraging though with the news of the Eternia playset and seeing King Grayskull and an Origins buck coming to the line that they could actually make the Powers of Grayskull a reality 35 years later.
yeah, it remains to be seen kind of what that's going to be as far as the Eternia playset. But yeah, I think it's cool that King Grayskull will be there, and he looks like more of a deluxe Origins type figure. So who knows whether we get just the deluxe version
Yeah,
there, or maybe they do a single carded release of him down the road
yeah,
with the Powers of Grayskull line too.
yeah, or a pack-in with Eternia. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've envisioned they're gonna do, is that they're gonna make him kind of a deluxe figure. And I thought I remembered there being a talk of that, but I don't know if that was official stuff or just conversations.
Yeah,
But to me, he looks, with that fur. That's not something we see a lot as far as the Origins line. So I think that it would make sense for him to be, a pack in with a crowd funded playset like Eternia.
that would be awesome. Yes. And to kick off our first figure on the list today, we have Eldor, and this is actually a prototype from the figure from the 80s.
Yeah, and I think obviously this would be a great figure to be part of a Powers of Grayskull line. It was one that was meant to come out originally with the vintage figures, and I think it'd be cool to see Eldor, finally on official card art and everything from Mattel. And he's a cool figure. It'd be interesting to see how they kind of handle his sculpt.
Yeah, because his sculpt is kind of boring, and like Super 7, they did make an all new sculpt and they actually didn't have access to the prototype. But I thought they did a good job with the update and just kind of capturing that prototype look.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those. It's a tough one for me because I know Origins is kind of all about keeping that vintage look. I've never been a big fan of the hood
Yeah,
for the concept figure that they had, or for the Super 7 one, because his face is so hidden back in there. It's almost like it's obscured too much. I would almost rather they did um like a soft goods cloak where you could have it up, or pull it back and do kind of like a hooded look for him. I think there's some cool stuff that they might do there. I don't know. That may be kind of straying too far from that original concept, but
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they are releasing soft goods with their WWE Superstars figures, and so like that would be actually a cool thing to do. And just the Powers of Grayskull line is a different line altogether, and so maybe this is something that they could start with that.
it is a different kind of direction to take for the character, because it would kind of change how he looks. But I think he looks like he has a pretty cool head sculpt, and I think it'd be neat to kind of give him that shrouded look a little bit, where his face is kind of hidden, but still have the ability to kind of pull the hood down and get almost like an Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of thing, where you've got like hood up or hood kind of down around like a Jedi cloak or something. I don't know. Just that's kind of what I think, as far as like seeing this on the shelf. I think the face is a little bit too obscured by the hood.
Yeah, definitely. And he just kind of looks like he's in a silver romper.
Yep.
Little
Yeah, not a lot of decoration or detail there.
no, but speaking of another card art tease, we have Hero, who was actually featured on the back of Eldor's card art in the Super 7 line, but he's actually absent from the Camo Khan's entire scene.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, I think it's a thing where you obviously don't want to reveal everything in one shot. It seems pretty likely that we would get Hero. He's one that I feel would need to be part of a Powers of Grayskull line. I mean, they did him in classics, of course, and you had that kind of original concept, and you had the Super 7 figure. So there's been a lot of envisionings for him, I guess, as far as different styles.
Yeah.
But I think that the vintage concept is really cool.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's great. I love all the vac metal and just
Yep.
shininess of the figure. And I thought again, just Super 7 did a great job just translating this design of the figure from the prototype because this is probably what we would see.
I'm not sure what I think of the Super 7 head sculpt. Somehow it looks a little
Yeah,
off. It's almost like it doesn't quite look right on the body somehow. And I don't know if it's because like the neck piece of like his armor comes up a little bit high. So it's almost like the head sits up where his
yeah.
his neck would be like twice the size that it should be or something to actually sit on his shoulders correctly. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things about the Super 7 figure that I like, but the head sculpt seems a little off somehow, but
Yeah, I want to go back to the other one. Yeah, he's kind of got a goofy look in
he
both of
does.
them, but I think in the Super 7 one, like there is a lot more definition to the facial features, so his goofy
Yep.
look kind of stands out a lot more.
I like that the his features stand out more, because I think that that'd be more likely for what we would see
Yeah.
anyways. I mean, you kind of with the rubber heads that they used before, kind of didn't allow for a lot of that detail. So, but I think maybe a little bit of a tweak here and there to make it look a little more natural on the body would be good.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier, he was also made in classics, and we also have a Masterverse figure to look forward to as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I think to me he's one that would definitely be part of the Powers of Grayskull line. But I just think that it's cool to kind of think of what they might include with
Yeah.
them. I think like we were talking before, the vac metal armor would be cool. If they don't want to go that route, I think they've shown us that they can do a decent job with other just gold style for the armor too.
Yeah, definitely. And next up is a character that has been teased for the last 35 years, actually, and it's Sharella. And if you missed it on Megator's box 35 years ago, she's actually shown in a really tiny picture just running away from Megator. So she's also shown up recently on Wondar's card art and Camo Khan's card art.
Yeah, yeah, I think she once again feels like another character that'd be cool to add into the line. She kind of fits into that Preternia kind of time range, and so yeah, I think it'd be cool to see her get a full blown release in as part of this line.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, I think she's a leftover from Axel's concepts from the classics line that just never got made. So it'd be cool to see her in Origins just to go along with the whole Powers of Grayskull theme. But she's been a subject of many a custom, and I think this is an interesting take on the character.
It is. I love the kind of what they did with like different elements of this. Just kind of the fur look to kind of her clothes and the boots and stuff. But then having that kind of that Battle Cat style
Yeah.
mask, I think that's a really cool extra thing that kind of really changes the look of the figure. And to me that staff is cool too, because it's for one thing it's different. It's very unique. and it kind of ties into the helmet. Kind of has that Triclops kind of vibe to it
Yeah.
with the different eyes, and it also kind of ties into her eventually becoming the goddess.
Right.
So I think that's kind of a cool. It's almost like a pre-goddess version, of the character, and I think that's cool.
Oh yeah, it's great, and we definitely need more ladies in the line. And yeah, you're right.
Yep.
This is a totally different take on the character, and I actually just noticed that there are eyeballs coming out of those mouths on those staffs. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's an oddball kind of thing, but it looks cool. It seems like a Motu kind of staff.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that wacky feel to it, and I like it a lot. And it'd be interesting to see how they'd handle some of these things like
Yeah,
that.
definitely. And also, Hunter Knight Customs also made her as well in classics form, but you can kind of see how this could get translated into more of an Origins design. This is a much kind of dressed down version of Sharella than the previous one, so it's probably maybe something similar to what we might get if they made her.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that the female buck that they usually use kind of looks more like what they would do here. This kind of just not a lot of decoration to it or change up. So then you just have like a different head sculpt and accessories that kind of flesh out the character.
Yeah, that'd be neat. And next up, we have Laser Power He-Man, and I think it would just be amazing to see him come to the line, just given how rare he is.
It's weird because I feel like they've shown we've seen this character quite a bit, or at least it feels like we
Yeah,
have over the years with classics and different things. But it would be cool to see once again uh, kind of that vintage figure get a full blown release in the U.S. because we haven't had that before in that vintage
yeah.
style anyway. I think that'd be cool and then it's just waiting to see whether they're going to try to do any action feature or any kind of light up feature or
Oh, they
anything like
have
that.
to.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, he feels like he would need it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you can't have a laser light effect without having an actual LED in there. So yeah, if they made this, they would have to do that one.
Yeah, and to me that's the cool thing because back in the 80s, you'd get a little, a bulb that would burn out in a couple of
Right.
years probably, or maybe less than that, depending on how much you play with it. But with a LED from today, you could get quite a few good years out of it, even with some pretty frequent play.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And this is another figure that had a variant, and it's interesting because this figure had such a short run, but he has a different head sculpt in this one too. So they've obviously made a couple versions of him.
yeah, and it's funny because this doesn't even look like the same figure. It looks completely different. This looks and just that head sculpt just changes so much about
Yeah.
him. And I do think it'd be cool, just as a just as a throwback, to give us both head sculpts. And I think it'd be cool because the idea was you're kind of transitioning from that standard He-Man over to like the Dolph Lundgren movie
Yeah.
He-Man, and so this might be a cool way to go ahead and get that Dolph Lundgren head, and maybe we can nitpick it a little
Yeah.
bit and do our griping and complaining about it, and then they can revise it a little bit and get it perfect for an eventual movie He-Man release in Origins.
Yes, and of course, if we have a laser power He-Man, we have to have laser light Skeletor. And again, like He-Man, it would be very cool to have him because he's just a very interesting looking character, but he's also a rare one too.
Yeah, and I think that's the cool thing about these is it gives collectors a chance to finally have some of these things on their shelf. It's been a lot of them are just completely out of reach. It's kind of like Eternia,
Yeah,
and also the fact that it's hard to find them in really good
yeah,
condition. So if you can get this and have it in package and be able to kind of enjoy just seeing all that, it kind of brings you back to being a kid, and that's what the Origins line is about, at least as far as I'm concerned.
yeah.
So I think this would be a fun one to get. He does have such a wacky look to him, so it'd be interesting to see how he would come out, though.
Oh, definitely would. And I'm sure that, if people have had this, they probably lost a cape or, if you played with it, there's probably scuffs all over the place. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That cape definitely. I'm sure the material would be getting some wear and tear and stuff. So I'm sure it's hard to find these in any kind of good condition.
Yeah, and they did remake him for the classics line. And so they kind of paid homage to that Origins figure, still with that goofy look, just in that updated sculpt.
Yeah, and I think to me this has a lot of the elements of the vintage figure, but still maybe looks more like
Yeah.
Skeletor, because the other one looks like almost like a knockoff of Skeletor.
It does.
Where it's like, some small company came up with this as like, hey, this isn't supposed to look like Skeletor. Um, More, but I think the classics figure kind of brings him back to where he looks like an actual like legitimate Mattel release.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I mean, they have to make him. And next up is
Yeah.
a channel favorite, and I think we have to include him on every episode moving forward until he becomes a reality. And it's, wait for it, everyone's favorite heroic spy, master of camouflage, Moss Man.
Yeah. When we talked about him with the Snake Man, but I think to me he's kind of a cool fit for Powers of Grayskull because he has that Preternia kind of feel to
Yeah,
him. He feels like kind of a timeless being. I mean, the only thing that sucks about it is that probably means we've got to wait another year to get him.
right. People are
Um,
impatient already, right?
yeah, but but I think if we if we kind of feel like we have that to at least finally look forward to, like, well, we do know he's coming, hopefully as part of this line. I think that'd be a cool thing to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. We have to have the classic flocking and the smell too, and hopefully they do the smell a lot better than Stinkor.
Yeah, they got to do something. I mean, to me, that the pine scent should be a lot easier to capture than maybe the stink
Yeah.
or stink was. So yeah, but you got to have them flocked. And then I think that do they throw in like an alternate head sculpt with
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, I think that would be neat. Like, they could do a lot. I mean, they've had a lot of time to think about how they could do this figure, so maybe they should.
And that's one of the challenges I think with something like this is you make people wait this long, and then the figure you have to just nail
Yeah.
it. The more you delay kind of a popular figure in the line, the more perfect it has to be when it finally shows up.
Yeah, totally agree. And rounding out this list, we have the first of our giants with Titus. And I think it would be awesome to add him because it would just add another scale to the figure line.
Yeah, and that was what was a lot of fun about his classics release was that it brought about kind of a whole different size of figure and really kind of added some variety to the display or
Mhm.
whatever. They actually captured the look of Titus pretty good, in classics, and I think they could do something similar in Origins
Yeah.
and really make him look great. So
Yeah. I mean, he did come out overseas back in
mhm.
the 80s. And so it's like they have an original design to go off of. And I like the packaging. It's kind of different from all the other MOTU packaging that we've seen. And, I would love to see just a different treatment of packages just because it is a different subline altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I mean, it's kind of similar to some of the other packaging they're doing, maybe for Masterverse kind of having that bigger window. But I think, they could do something pretty similar to the vintage
Yeah.
packaging, and it'd be cool to see that kind of artwork and just kind of see how this would come out in updated form.
Oh, definitely. And rounding out the list, we have our favorite Jolly Green Giant, Megator. Man, it would be great to have him.
Yeah. I was just kind of like I was okay with Titus. I thought it was a cool figure, but it also kind of had that just kind of not blob, but just kind of nothing super exciting about the kind of the way the figure came out. But Megator was an awesome release. I loved the ball and chain, and the separate head sculpt was cool with that zombie head sculpt that they
Yeah.
did. So I think that they could do a lot of cool stuff like that for the Origins release and make for a really cool figure.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember somebody mentioning in the comments that, they might cut corners and just use the Andre the Giant size sculpt for these ones, which is not that much taller, but I think it would just look really weird if they did that. So if they are doing this, they have to go all in and just make them as big as they did in the vintage line.
I can't decide. I don't think I would want him to be the Andre the Giant size just because I don't feel like it's enough larger. But I do think that maybe something kind of in between. I don't know that you need to go like the full blown like 12-inch kind of scale that they did for classics. I think maybe if you did like a 9 or 10-inch figure, still scales them up quite a bit over an Origins figure. but maybe at that point you still get some articulation in there and some cool kind of battle posing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I also too think with bigger scaled figures, like we could see some of the detail that they put on classics, because if you're gonna
Yeah.
bump up the size that much, you can't have a plain Jane figure and armor and sculpt. So
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think some of this is, it's you got to start looking at how much would something like this
yeah,
cost and the packaging and all that stuff, and be interesting to see where it goes.
yeah. Well, they're gonna make a killing with all their Snake Men figures, so they're gonna,
Yep.
so it's like, okay, Snake Men in 2023. Let's do Powers of Grayskull in 2024, right?
Yeah, I'd be good with that. It seems like it's a long way out there, but if we have a lot of cool releases between now and then, it gives us stuff, constantly, adding to the display.
Yeah, and like this would be an amazing wave if like they just came out with this right off the gate.
Oh yeah, yeah, because you could do like the deluxe, He-Man and Skeletor figures. You've got the wave of standard releases, and then the two giants. It'd be a really cool kind of opening salvo for Powers of
Oh,
Grayskull.
it totally would. It's like the giants could take the place of some of the larger scale vehicles that we've seen too. So it's like they could mix it up that way.
Yeah, no, it'd be cool.
It'd be awesome. And let us know your thoughts on if you think the Powers of Grayskull will make it into the Origins line in the comments below. I'm Michael,
And I'm
and
Larry.
thanks for tuning in to Toy Habits.